Hey, welcome to the BK Show, episode number 1. I've actually been sitting on this audio for quite some time. I took a trip to Vancouver back in February, and I went up there to see Kayvon, who's on this show, Kelsey, Tom, and Christina, Tony and Michaela from Vessi, and my friend Abdul as well. And I went up there to record some podcasts, but unfortunately, this is the only one I recorded. But I'll tell you what, this is one of my favorite episodes that I've recorded so far, if not my favorite. This embodies everything I'm trying to do with this podcast, so I'm glad we're kicking it off on the right foot. Kayvon tells his story from childhood through adolescence, through entrepreneurship to where he is today. And there's some low lows and there's some high highs. And really, this is everything I want to do with this podcast, is tell those stories and then show people who have persevered through all of that to doing what they love every single day of their life. Funny story with this episode. Nearly the entire time we're recording, Kayvon is holding a microphone in one hand and like a chew toy for his dog in the other hand. So definitely towards the end of the episode, you might hear the dog rustling around. But nevertheless, this story is fantastic. So enjoy episode number 1 of the BK Show with my friend Kayvon Kay. Oh, man, welcome to the show. This is my buddy Kayvon Kay. Tell me about yourself, buddy.
That's such a loaded question. When people say, tell me about yourself, I mean, in a nutshell, I think to myself, I go, who's Kayvon? Well, Kayvon's someone of over 20 years of sales experience. Now that we've gone in the new decade, I can officially say 3 decades of sales experience. And Kayvon is a fighter. I mean, he's, with all the triumphs and tribulations as I've gone through my life, just like most people, we've all gone through, we all have our story. But my story starts back when I was in junior kindergarten. I tell people, that's when the Kayvon kind of got developed, when I was told that I was never going to make it.
Do you say junior kindergarten?
Junior kindergarten.
All right, so for reference, we're sitting in Canada. I don't know what the fuck junior kindergarten is.
I know people don't know what junior kindergarten is. Yeah. So it's like preschool. It's before senior kindergarten, I guess. So junior kindergarten is like half day, where then senior is like full day.
Okay.
So let's just say before I even got to grade 1, right? I was identified ADD, ADHD, LD, learning disabilities in reading, writing, math, and communication.
Yeah.
Like what's left? Phys ed?
No, but I feel like almost every entrepreneur I've met has all of that.
Yeah,
right?
It's the truth. And I think there is a merit to it. And I think it's because the system written us off and we had no other way, we had nowhere to go, but we had to do our own thing. And that's kind of what it was for me. For me, it was always like I started selling, and it was me selling myself out of trouble. It was me always trying to sell the teachers or sell the parents or sell the bullies on either not bullying me or that I'm smarter than they thought I was or that I thought differently. And it was just a constant struggle and constant battle for me. And growing up, I developed this resiliency, developed this like tenacity to not give up and not let people tell me what I can and cannot do. And I used that and I fueled that passion into kind of where I am today.
I love that you took it all the way back like that. This is exactly what I want to do on this podcast, is get back to people's childhoods. Because when I was growing up, I was told I'm not normal. I don't act the same way as everybody else. I don't learn the same way as everybody else. And I don't do the things that I should be doing. I'm air quoting here, should be doing. And so I love that you took it back there. So like, I'm assuming with these learning disabilities and like you're talking about having to sell yourself in every situation. Can you go deeper into that of like what?
I mean,
bullied?
I love it. Yeah, being bullied, right? Because so I grew up in a small Northern Ontario town, Northern Ontario in Canada, and I was the only Persian kind of family in that town. So not only was I already being bullied for being different, i.e., being stupid in their eyes, not good enough, right? I was also being bullied for just having a different heritage, and it was tough. Like when I look back, it wasn't the kids that were the toughest. It wasn't the teachers that were even the toughest. It was the parents. The dirty looks I got. People just kept saying how bad I was. I wasn't bad. I was energetic. I couldn't sit in a classroom, right? And what happened was, and I look back and I had some self-reflection, and what was unfortunate was being told you're not good enough at such a young age, and being told that not just by one person, by your community, by the families, by everybody, you start to believe it. So I shut my brain off. I just assumed I was stupid. So I spent 25 years of my life just saying I'm stupid. I don't get it. I'm not good enough. So I didn't take in the information. I didn't take in all the scholastic information I probably could have taken in because I was just told it didn't matter.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
I wasn't good enough. So I shut my brain off to that scholastic piece, and I opened up my brain to the survival. So it was a constant survival for me. Every day was survival. It was, a good day at school was my parents not having to come pick me up, right? A great day at school was not getting a phone call from the principal. When I got home with C's and D's, man, my mom was doing the happy dance, right? And as I kept going through all the school, and I hated it. I remember till this day where like there were days, that weeks and months that like seemed so long, and it was just such a struggle, and it was so painful. And when I look back, it was just because it wasn't a safe place for me. It's like school was not a safe place for me. So there was a lot of traumatic, experiences throughout that process. But I kept pushing and I kept pushing. And in high school, so by the time I got to high school, when they said I never would get to high school, they said, you're never going to get to high school. I got there. Same thing. Think it was different? No, just more, right? Bigger and stronger. And then because my parents came to this country, they, only goal, right, is, our baby in university, right? And I didn't want to let them down. So I was living someone else's dream. So in all this struggle and this pain, I still found myself going through college and then university. By the time I got to university, I was 20 years old. And the resource teachers, those people that are supposed to the special needs, they're the ones that are supposed to help you. They're supposed to be your pioneers, man. Like they're supposed to be your champions, right? She told me, based off what my results were and based off what she's seen in my, my black book of Kayvon since I was a little kid, and can't even imagine how thick that thing was, right? That I was just stupid, that I didn't have ADD, that I didn't have any learning disabilities, that I was just purely stupid. And I'll never forget when she literally looked at me and said, if you were smart, if you're even lucky enough, you would move back to your hometown, Steel Town, and work in the factory like your father. And that's if you're lucky. That's if you leave right now and you go because you're young.
But did you buy into that bullshit? Because that's obviously her own bullshit projecting on you, right? Like
I did. I bought into it. How do you not buy into that? 21 years old, if you're stupid. I mean, at some point you break. So I did. It put me into a big rut. I was depressed. I didn't know what to do because I had all my life, literally I say all my life, because I just remember I had these dreams. I had these passions just like every other child, right? Mine was to be famous. Mine was to be a professional athlete or the rock star. It was to be someone of significance and to have someone and to be something of impact. And I always knew that I was never going to do traditional jobs like, a lawyer, a teacher, doctor. Like it just wasn't in my cards and it wasn't for me. And it never really intrigued me. What intrigued me was doing my own thing, being able to be creative. And I used that creativity and I put it into sales. And I always dreamed of just being the guy that takes care of shit, right? Like bringing the big boys, right? And bring in Kayvon, and Kayvon comes in and he'll take care of it because I think outside the box. I do outside things. I don't fit into the norm. And so when I heard all that, it was devastating, man, for sure. I still remember today. It was like, what do I do now? Like, is everything I dreamed, everything I worked hard for this, like everything I struggled through, is it coming true? And it put me into a little bit of a funk. But because I'm a fighter, I never gave up. I didn't quit. And essentially, I went back. I moved back to the hometown. I didn't get the job at the factory, but I moved back and I readjusted and I went to a different university. Parents were not. I will never forget. My dad and I didn't have the greatest relationship, but I'll never forget the call when he said, when it was like around September time, October, and I left university, and he said, I don't care what you do. I don't care where you're at. But by January 1st, you better be in university, and click. That was a wake-up call for me. Oh, man, I'm not going to upset him. And I knew that he was saying, he never was really strict with me because he gave up because I was just so wild. But I heard it in his voice. It was just like, just do this one thing for me. So I got through it. I ended up being on the honor roll in university. I opened up my mind. I realized I wasn't stupid. I just learned differently. I realized, the scholastic way of learning and teaching wasn't for me, but how can I make the system work for me? So I got creative. I made it work. I got the tutors. I got the help. I got the tests before they were given, right? I befriended all my teachers. I bought them coffees. I went and drank with them. Like I told them straight out. So I don't even know how we got here, but this is what makes me different. The beginning of every class, the last time around at university, I knew I had to do something different. So I walked up to the professors, introduced myself. My name is Kayvon. You don't know me, and I don't know you, but all I do know is this, is I've had a hard time with school all my life. They said I would never be here. So for me to be here today is a gift. All I'm going to ask you is to give me an easier time. I'll do whatever you want me to do. I'll work harder. I will show up more, right? I'll study extra harder, but I'm going to need help. I'm going to need your help.
Did you know you were pre-framing back then?
No, no. That's, I love you said that. No, I didn't. I just knew that they needed to know that I wasn't the bad kid. They needed to know that I wasn't the kid that didn't want to be there. I wanted to be there. So when they saw my marks on the grades, or they saw the spelling mistakes in the papers, or they saw the, you know what I mean? Like the creativity in the way I wrote and it didn't make sense to them. I wanted them to acknowledge that and realize like I'm trying my hardest.
Yeah.
And every one of them helped me. Every one of them did what I asked them to do. I said, I want to maintain an 80 average. I want to get on the honor roll. Right? And they did. They did. And, and I tell people, they're like, well, that means you didn't really deserve to be there. Yeah, I do deserve to be there. You did it one way. I did it my way. Not many people do it my way. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of courage to do it my way. In fact, I should be better. I should be number one on that list because I didn't do it like everyone else. But I ended up getting on there. Like the guy who said that I'd never going to graduate from university, I ended up being on the honor roll, graduating. I ended up taking that with my sports. I ended up being the athlete of the year. I ended up being collegiate athlete of the year for 2 years. My name's on the freaking banners in this university. And you know what I mean? At a university they said I'd never ever get into. So that I just talk about the story because that's like the tenacity, as you can imagine. That's like the hard work you have to go through. Life's hard. People are going to tell you you're not good enough.
I think I knew from when I met you that you had a chip on your shoulder, right? I think a lot of entrepreneurs do.
Yeah.
I didn't realize our story was so similar. Like when I was a kid, I don't want to say a whiz at math, but I was a fucking whiz at math. But I could not show you how I got there. And so the teachers would fail me. Yeah. Because I couldn't show my work, and they're like, you must be cheating. And I'm like, no, I just figured it out a different way. And they'd be like, how'd you figure it out? And I'd walk them through my crazy mental process, and then they'd be like, yeah, if you can't do it our way, you can't do it at all. And someday you're never going to have a computer, like a calculator in your pocket.
Yeah.
And it turns out they were wrong, right? Obviously, but
we have cell phones.
My whole life, I was always told, like, you're not normal. You're not doing it right. I struggled to learn the way they wanted me to learn. I struggled to fit in this little box they told me life existed in. And so I really like the way you did it of going up and saying, look, I might not be the person you need me to be. You're pre-framing, right? You're selling before you even knew you were selling.
It's a full-on pre-frame for sure. And it worked. My way was just like, how do I get them on my side? I was so... The school system, right? These teachers were like, they were always on the other side of me. They were always playing against me. So my goal was like, this is a new world, a new city. I can get them on my side, and how do I got to do that? And I definitely wasn't going to be doing that by getting good grades. Right?
How much did sports play into like where you could go or what you could do for university, right? Because I just learned recently you were a pretty darn good football player, right? Yeah. And even then you told me a story of a chip on your shoulder and what you were going to do in football, right? All the touchdowns you scored.
That's a good story too. Yeah. So between competitive ski racing and football, sports played everything. I wouldn't be the man I am today without the sports, because the sports again showed it. For me, because I was so energetic, the sports allowed me to take that energy and put it somewhere. So I took all that fuel, which was once my fortress, and I turned it into my fuel to make it a power of mine. So I got all that energy out on that, whether it was on the ski hill or was it on the football field. And as you know, in sports, you learn about teamwork, you learn about hard work, you learn about courage, you learn about character. I always tell people now, they say, character isn't won when you've won the game. Character isn't built when things are going right. True character is built when you've lost that game. True character comes up when you're sitting in a team and there's 58 people who just lost a championship. How do you rally together and get out there for the next season and win all over again? That's where true character happens. So I learned all those things about hard work, dedication, showing up on time, staying later, right? Outworking everybody. And I learned that at a young age, and that's what I had to do. I wasn't going to be always the fastest. I wasn't going to be the smartest, but I always said I was going to be the one that outworked everybody. And then through that, it got me to where I needed to be today, which is, and where I'm going.
I think you hit a point there I'd like to touch on too, is you talked about the character, but a lot more comes from losing. Like,
yes,
everything comes from losing. I'm a big fan of Gary Vee, and I'm not shy to talk about it. He might be crazy to some people, but he talks about fall in love with losing, and he nailed it, right? It's when you lose that you learn the most, and it's everyone talks about it. It's how you get back up again, but it's true. Like, what did you learn from that moment, and then where are you now? I was having lunch with our friend Abdul today. How he talked about if you make your lifeline on the bottom axis and like happiness on the up and down axis, and then you see how you have the ups and downs.
Yeah.
And you see that when you lose, usually that goes way back down, right? But you see over time, it's a hockey stick trajectory, right? You're only getting happier. And the more you have those dips of your losses, the happier you are in the end, right? It's a long game.
It is it's just like the stock market. If you look at the 100-year trend, right?
Yeah.
You can see the
That's a
peaks,
good
you can see the
reference.
low and valleys, but if you look at the 100-year trend, it goes up. That's what your life is. And that's, you just open up a can of worms, because that to me is what most people's biggest problems is. They're not willing to take that step back. They're not willing to get uncomfortable. They're not willing to be wrong. They're not willing to invest. They're not willing to get told that, they're not good enough, or have their idea rejected, or be told at the bank that they're not going to be given money so they can do this. They're not willing to do all that pain, so those dips you're talking about, to get that leap forward. They stay consistent. They stay constant all their life. They stay safe. And I knew that if I was going to get to where I wanted to be, safety wasn't going to get me there.
So talk me through that, right? You go to university, you made dad happy.
Yeah, finally. Oh my God. Thank God. Yeah, I tell you, the day I graduated, the last day I wrote that exam, I'll never forget it. It was one of the happiest days of my life. It was done. It was over, and never ever go back. Never ever go back. And then I realized now I study. I read books. I study, but I study things I want to study. I study things I want to do, right? And I learn it totally different. And I realized, man, like I could have learned a lot when I was younger if I would have believed a different, if I had a different belief.
Yeah.
But so now again, small town, I grew up in that town where there's only things you're going to do. You're going to be a teacher, right? You're going to be a lawyer. You're going to be the doctor. You're going to be the accountant, or you're going to be working in the factory. That was it. That's it. Right? None of those were the ones I wanted. So, but I knew about the big bad city. I knew that people wore suits, and I knew like that business kind of world, the finance world. So I went out and got my very first corporate job. I got hired to do, it was a sales job, calling out and talking to CEOs, CMOs. I remember I was literally my very first day. Again, most people don't do it. I just rolled out the Rolodex and started calling. Ended up on the phone with the CEO of Duracell batteries. And I'm like 23 years old, and I just still remember to this day, he was like, "Who is this? What do you want?" And I'm like, "Oh, this is Kayvon here." He's like, "I thought you were someone else," click. And I was like, holy shit. But I lasted 2 days.
What were you selling?
We were selling, it was partnerships. It was marketing partnerships. So it was basically cross promotion partnerships. So like, Duracell batteries with anything that involves a battery, and being able to get them to do a cross promotion, right? So in this case for me, because I was heavily in the ski industry, we were trying to get spas, to donate their services or give discounts on their services and put them onto the women's skis, so we can sell more women's skis, buy this women's ski and you get the spa package type of thing. And it was all different levels. But I left. I quit 3 days.
You quit.
Done. I put in my papers. I'll never forget. It was the second day on the job, Tuesday. I had to be there at 9 a.m. Did the whole driving in traffic. And it was Tuesday afternoon. It was about 1 p.m. in the afternoon. I was done. I called everybody. I was like, "What do you want me to do? Like, what can I do?" And they're like, "Oh no, just stay." I'm like, "Do I have to stay until 5?" They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "But I'm done." "Yeah, stay till." I was like, done. That was it. I couldn't. I knew that there was no way in hell I was going to stay in something. Like, you're going to tell me when I can and cannot do something? Like, I'm back in school. I was literally back in school all over again. I just left this kind of environment. I just
3 days in a job, and you knew, I'm not a fucking employee.
I'm not an employee. I knew I wasn't an employee, but I also knew, most importantly, I was never going to work in a like actually in an office, and I never have ever since that day. And that was the greatest day. It was, yeah. I can't. I'm destructive in an office. I tell people.
Well, and you're living that now. Like, I talked about being in an office earlier, and you're like, I don't know how anybody does that.
I don't know.
You're
how
sitting here at home, which is what I do too. I love working at home.
But people say, I don't know how you work at home, and it's like, exactly. Like, it's to each is their own. But so what happened was I left that job, and now I had to figure out, well, what's an in-house, where's a job I can work from home? So called up some networks and I ended up getting a sales job again. And I was in recruiting. So I started recruiting real estate agents and mortgage brokers and selling to them, and got on stages and started doing actually selling from stage.
You were on stage at a job?
I was selling, yeah. So the company I was working for at that time had a product. They had actually a digital. It was back in the day, they were giving websites. So creating websites for real estate agents. This was like 15 years ago, before websites were even a thing, right? And we were going in, and so my job was to cold call offices, try to set up the lunch and learns. So speak to the broker, get into the brokerage, do a lunch and learn, bring in the pizza, speak to 50, 60 agents, and then sell the product. So I was doing that, and it was very effective there. And then I got into the mortgages, where we're actually recruiting mortgage brokers to come to our different mortgage houses. And then corporate came back in front of me, and was working with pharmaceuticals. But this was great because I was in corporation, but I was not having to be at a desk. I was supposed to be on the road, which was exactly what I wanted. So I ended up, my last career job in corporation, I ended up being the number one pharmaceutical sales rep in the country.
What kind of pharmaceuticals were you selling?
All of them. Everything from the dick pills to the heart pills to the high blood pressure pills.
Were you going to like doctor's offices?
I was going to pharmacies. We were actually going to pharmacies. So I mean, we had over 1,000 SKUs, different molecules. Yeah. So we were selling, again, here it is, the dropout. Sciences. I didn't take grade 9. They gave me the pass, the P in grade 9 science, and here I am selling pharmaceuticals. But again, it's about the relationships. I wasn't selling anything. I was building relationships with people.
Yeah, but I think it's funny that like I don't know anything about your past story. So I love that you're going through it all, and even through all of that, it just screams salesman, right? If anybody talked to you for 10 minutes, they would be like, this dude can fucking talk.
This guy can sell. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny that that's like the path you went on without even trying, right? You're talking about selling your teachers in grade school. You're talking clearly talked about selling them in university pre-framing. You immediately go into sales jobs. Like, I can just imagine you selling dick pills. I kind of want to get you selling them to me right now on the microphone, because I know it'd be a hell of a funny story.
So that was different, right? Because you're not selling the dick pill. You're selling the pricing of the dick pills, right? So it's not so much the features, the benefits of Viagra. Doctors know Viagra, right? Sure. It's just getting them to buy more Viagra or whatever. In our case, I was generic, so the generic version of Viagra, right? But the same thing happened. I was number one in the country. Again, outworked everyone, blew the records, and dealing with the corporate espionage bullshit, right? Like, it was so bad. I couldn't, and I just, in that moment, I was about 30 years old, and I said, enough's enough. I'm living everybody else's life. I'm living everyone else's dream. I'm trying to live this corporate life because that's what I was told and raised to do. I went to school. I'm trying to, I'm walking around thinking I'm all this big shot corporate, pharmaceutical sales, and I was miserable. Like, I was just miserable inside. And I knew, I was like, I can't hold myself back anymore. And this is the conversation. I actually called my parents, almost called like a huddle, like had my own intervention with my family. I called it on, and I said, guys, I'm done. I've tried it your way. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm going to be me. I'm doing me. And I actually had to move. I didn't move just out of the city. I actually moved across the country.
And what age was that?
That was 28, 27, 28. And I could see that my life did not change from 20 years old to 27. Those are pretty important years of your life. And my life didn't really change that much. I didn't, like, the way I operated, the way I thought, the way I approached things, the way I handled things emotionally. My life didn't change. And I realized that, like, I can't waste another 7 years, end up at 35 and be in this position. And I know that, again, see, with people, they say I want, right? You see that. I want this. I can't wait for that. But they don't realize, in order to do that, you got to become a different person. The person you are today is the person you're getting the results of. The results you don't like. The results that don't serve you. I knew that if I was going to finally go after and be the man I wanted to be, become that version of myself I always dreamed of, I had to be a different person today.
You got to raise your standards.
I had not even raise your standards. I had to be a different person. I had to come from a different place, and there's no way I could come from a different place when I'm surrounded and I'm living in the same situation that got me to where I was. So I had to give myself that permission to leave, and I did. And I called my parents, and I left, and I told my mom. Now, my mom, I didn't tell you in the story. My mom was always my protector. My mom was always there for me. When everyone else doubted me, my mom was the only one that ever was always like, I believe in you, love me, full love. And I remember when I called her and I said, Mom, you got to stop calling me. I will call you when I'm ready to call you. And people are like, how could you do that to your mother? Well, it's because I had to be incredibly selfish so that I can become incredibly generous. And me being incredibly selfish was me not speaking to my mom. Well, why would you do that? Because every time she would call me, she would say, I love you. You're my everything. She would say, why are you trying to work so hard? You had such a great life.
You're okay just the way you are.
You're great the way you are. I'm great the way... I don't like the person I am. What are you talking about? I'm great the way... You think I'm great the way I am. I'm not great the way I am, right? So I had to have that break. It wasn't just a physical emotion. It was a spiritual break. It was, it was a break where it's like, I have to be able to let go. I had to walk. See, people talk about going, right? Jumping off the cliff. I had to walk through the door. I wanted everything else on the other side of that door, but yet I was standing on the opposite side of the door with everybody else. And I wanted to pull them all through, but there was only one silhouette, and it was mine. So I had to give myself the permission to go through that door. And what happens is you go through that door and you're alone, and it gets hard. It gets scary. And most people run right back. But I knew I couldn't run back. I cut, the whole think and grow rich. They say sink your ships, burn your ships. I had to do that. Physically, spiritually, mentally, health, everything. I literally burnt my ships. There was no going back.
So I love this moment because everybody has it, right? Everybody I've ever met that's an entrepreneur has this moment.
Yeah.
Can you put into words what finally got you to this moment, right? It's kind of like your rock bottom, right?
There was two moments.
It's just so hard to articulate that.
So there was two moments. The first moment when I had to have the realization that I wanted more and I was actually willing to go do more, right? Then the second moment that most people don't talk about is the moment where the guns point to your head. It's where the character is being built. It's how far are you willing to break before you can rebuild. So moment number one was when I literally stood at this view with my hands up, looking over the mountains. It was a Sunday night and I was in the best shape of my life. And I remember looking and going, wow, like, Kayvon, you finally made it. Like, I thought I lived my best self. Like, I was like, whoa. At that time, I was in the best shape of my life. I had the corporate job. I was doing, $250,000+ million a year, working 1 day a week. I had the company credit card. I was living in this beautiful apartment. And at that point, I was dating a girl that I thought, oh my God, I thought I had it all. The next day, that was Sunday, Monday morning, I woke up. My manager calls me and said the company is changing their compensation structure and they're going through an acquisition and we don't know if your job will be available. Number one salesperson in the country. And you don't know if my job's going to be available? That was painful because I lost my identity in that. I didn't know who I was. Later that afternoon, I got an email from my landlord saying that the house that this apartment I just called my home for the first time, my new home, saying that that I have to leave because they had family move in it. On Tuesday, I get a call from my mom and she's in tears and I'm like, what's going on? To find out my dad's going through another round of radiation and chemo. On Thursday, my older sister calls me and she's in tears and I'm like, hey, what's going on now? Like, I heard about dad. No. Dave just left, but her husband just left her with my two nieces. And then I remember on Friday, I was still in love and lust that I was like, it doesn't matter. I still have the girl of my dreams. I'm okay. She's going to help me get through this. On Sunday, she actually looked at me face to face and said she could never look at me the way I looked at her and walked out the door. All that happened in 1 week. That was my breaking point in that moment. I actually fell to the ground, not mentally, like physically, and I stayed to the ground. And the funny thing was, I was on that ground, literally, like physically on the ground for 24 to 72 hours. The only time I did anything was to crawl to the bathroom and back and just laid depressed, crying. And I realized that I was looking at the door the whole time, waiting for someone to come through that door.
Someone to come rescue you.
Someone to come rescue me. And then I had this moment where I said, nobody's coming to rescue me. I'd burnt my ships. I told people, don't rescue me. I told everyone, don't call me. No one even knows I'm in this position. So I realized I had to pick myself up. And when I picked myself up, and I finally picked myself up, that's a transformation. Not you. That's an internal, personal transformation that, if anyone's lucky enough to go through it, it's not a bad thing. It's if you're lucky enough to have something like that go through you, and you can pick yourself up without any help, by yourself, the mental fortitude, the mental strength. Well, when I got up, I was like, I need a change. And that's when I jumped into entrepreneurship. Now, jumping into entrepreneurship, thinking that you figured it all out because you had a personal little transformation. Well, I was wrong there. I got in that online game, as you know, and because I had all the money saved up, I was full of piss and vinegar. I thought, oh my God, I'm the man. I ended up being $150,000 in debt. 8 months later, failing. Fail. And I was standing in line at the bank about to claim bankruptcy. And I had no idea. I had no money. I had no idea what I was going to do. I had no hope, nothing. And right before the next teller, coming up to the teller, I had that moment, that epiphany moment where I was like, is this really it? Like, am I waving the white flag? Like, am I going back to my old life? Am I going to go get a corporate job? And I said, no way. There's no freaking way this is happening. And I remember reading books and hearing you hear Gary Vee say it, right? What are you willing to do in the next 3 to 5 years that most people won't, so you can have a life that most people will never live? And I realized, like, what am I willing to do? That was it. I'm willing to be $150,000 in debt. I'm willing to sell everything I have. I'm willing to not know how I'm going to pay my next bill or how I'm going to eat tomorrow for my dream. I was willing to do whatever I wanted, whatever I needed, more than I was willing to breathe.
You know what's really crazy? Like, and I don't want to discount your story, but I feel like everyone goes through this.
Yeah.
And to me, it's really, really fucked up how God, or whatever you believe in, the universe, they punch you in the face like 6 fucking times. You're on the ground, you're bleeding, your nose is busted, and they're like, oh, you've had enough, and you're finally like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm rising up like the phoenix, and I'm doing this shit. And then you like try everything and fail, and you're just about to give up again, and the universe just punches you one more fucking time. Like, you sure you really want this, bro?
Yeah.
And that's like, between all of that is when everyone gives up.
That's what I'm saying. And that's why you just said it, is between all that is when everybody gives up. When 99% of the population gives up. They go, I tried it. And the 1% makes it. And then they come back and they say, listen, you got to push hard. They don't listen. Because again, most people can't. There's 2 types of people. Okay? In this situation, there's 2 types of people all the time. But in this situation, there's 2 types of people. There's the ones that when you pull the rug from underneath them and their back's against the wall, they're the ones that actually perform and they make it happen. And then there's ones that actually break. They can't do it. They break. They crumble. And there's not many people who know how to handle that pressure with the back against the wall and can keep pushing forward. And the ones that do end up being in the 1%. I was living in the 99% all my life. I was weakened. I had a crutch.
It's probably all you knew too, right? Like,
it's all I knew.
What did your parents? What did your parents do for a living?
I gave my humble beginnings, man. My dad worked in that factory entire life. He never made more than $51,000 his entire life in a year. Yeah. My mom was an assistant of an accountant. I remember when I got my first job, I was getting paid $7.25. My mom was getting paid the exact same. Wow. Yeah. So we didn't come from money, and my parents didn't know anything but safety.
Same with mine, right? Before I jumped into entrepreneurship, my mom was a CNA. Yeah. My dad worked at a warehouse.
Exactly.
My wife was a CNA. I was working at a warehouse. Like, this was as good as life got, right? That's all I knew.
Oh my God. When I got that pharmacy job, my parents, like, they thought, wow, like that was like heaven to them. It was heaven to me. I thought I made it. I swear to God. I was like, I was in the NHL. I was in the MLB, whatever you want to call it. Like, I was in the big boy leagues, and I was so disappointed when I got in there and realized I was playing with a bunch of kids. There's no way that a guy like me with zero experience in that world, zero experience on the knowledge of the product, no connections, not one connection, can become the number 1 rep in a year. It doesn't tell me I'm great. It tells me I was playing too small.
But to be fair, you have a fucking gift.
I do have a gift.
So like, the world knocked you down. We all have a gift, to be fair. Yours is in sales. Clearly, you got knocked down. You decided to try entrepreneurship. You're $150,000 in debt. Like, what have you tried to that point? And like, what was the epiphany the day you were like, I've taken the final punch. I'm ready.
Yeah. So what I tried before that got me 150K in debt was I got into the marketing trap of the business opportunity world. And I was more into the learn how to become a coach, a consultant, a service provider, like, right? Learn how to be the next Tony Robbins. I was going to be the next Tony Robbins because I had my transformation. So I can just naturally teach everybody theirs, right? And I just got caught up, and I wasn't a marketer. I didn't know anything about marketing. I didn't know anything about any of that stuff. And I just got caught up in chasing after the dream and no direction, no mentorship, nothing. And then when I got home that night, when I left the bank and I got home, I had to go back to the roots. I had to ask myself, who am I? What do I do? What are my strengths? And it got back to the fact that I'm a sales guy. I'm not a marketer. I'm a salesperson. It was a shitty realization there because the only thing I knew about sales was corporate. And I'm like, I got to go back to that. And through some mentorship, I had someone who said, no, Kayvon, you're a closer. And I said, closer? What does that even mean? Instead of trying to be, so he said, instead of trying to be the coach, the hero, the consultant, just go close for them. You got no marketing, don't have to worry about Facebook ads, you don't have to worry about social media, and you take a percentage of what you close. What? Are you serious? And he's, oh yeah, by the way, and the best part, they fill your calendar. What? What are you talking about? You're telling me that I can go close for these people I want to be. They're going to fill my calendar. I don't have to call out. They call me, like they book on my appointment, and I just got to flap my gums and then get them to buy, and I get a percentage. He's like, yeah. Where do I start? I said, I don't know, go online. So I went online. Started looking up closers. Started looking up high ticket. Found my first influencer. He ended up doing a $15,000 4-day event. I was making 15%. And I was in Canada and I was making American dollars. That was $2,000 plus a call. Are you kidding me? I didn't take that lightly. Within 6 weeks, I had made $50,000.
This is all closing somebody else's product.
Closing someone else's product.
So help the listener, right? Because I was totally ignorant. When I first met you, you're like, I'm the one call closer.
Yeah.
What the fuck does that even mean,
What
right?
does it
So I come
fucking
from
mean?
this physical product world where I'm like, drive traffic to a landing page, hopefully close people on the landing page at like 2 to 3%. If not, retarget them with the product or with content and drive them back to buying this physical product. And you are... First off, you're not really closing physical products, which I think you could. I think I could point at this fireplace right here and have you sell it to me, and you'd probably sell me one.
Yeah.
But like you're selling digital products.
Yeah.
And when you say closer, the way you describe closer to me made me feel a whole lot better, like about what you were doing, right? Because when a lot of people, when they think sales, they think sleazy. Like you're just trying to make that $2,000. Where you tell
I wasn't thinking about the money. I mean, if you think about the money, you'll do good, but if you think about the impact and the transformation, you'll do great, and that's just the fact. So no, I was actually about connecting and getting to know people, but I was loving it because I was like, oh my God, I'm in my genius. I'm sitting at home. Check, right? I had no pressure. I had no pressure because I was in my genius. I didn't have to worry about writing an email or putting up a product, any of that stuff as an entrepreneur. So I wasn't an entrepreneur anymore. I was what I call like an intrapreneur, right? So I got the freedom and the luxury of an entrepreneur without the risk. And the best part was I didn't have to call these people. They called me. Like, are you kidding me? If anyone sales that knows sales, this is like the luxury of luxury. This is a luxury job, and I treated it like a luxury job. I didn't take advantage of it. I worked my ass off, and next thing you know, the same thing happened in corporate. I got fired. So what the fuck is going on? So I had to look within, and I got another influencer. Instead of 15,000, it was 12,000. That's okay. I sell more. Same thing happened. They fired me. So what I realized was like, I'm getting fired from all these jobs because I'm too good. And I don't say that with arrogance. It's just what happens is they say they have these goals. You have these commission structures that they set up. This is why I hate it. They set up these commission structures in hopes that nobody gets them, so they don't have to pay them. And then when you achieve them, they got to pay you. And then when they got to pay you, they don't want to pay you anymore.
And they must assume if you can do it, anybody can do it, right?
Well,
like,
no,
let's
not even that. It's just they're like, we don't want these types of people. People don't want A players. They want B plus players. A players have their own ideas. They have their own creativity. They don't make great employees, right? They wanted strong B players who make great employees. I'm not a sheep, right? So so I knew, I was like, okay, well, I got to figure something out. So the same mentor at that time who showed me about the high ticket asked, hey, do you think we can teach this? Are you kidding me? Can we teach this? I can teach this with my eyes closed. Next thing you know, 8 months later, we built a $15 million company. We had over 5,000 students in our program, and we were in 100 different countries. It was like a dream come true. I finally made the dream come true, and then my business partner fucked me. Just took the entire, took the business, ran me into the ground. So you're talking about being punched in the face. What you want to talk about a swing? How about going from $150,000 in debt to 6 months later being a millionaire to 6 months later after that to being $250,000 in debt?
And not even fucked over. Like, there's way more to this story, and I don't know how much you want to get into it, but like really pushed out and chastised. And you told a lot of stories last night at dinner that are like crazy, right?
Yeah,
like
crazy. Thing, and people always go, there's two sides of story, and that's why I never like telling my story. I'm silent on my story because there's always two sides of story. And when people hear my story, it's a disgruntled employee or what it is. So I just don't tell it because what I know about the truth is the truth will always come out, right? And I know what my truth is, and I know what happened, and I know what I did, and I know how I did it, and I know how I built the damn thing. So that will come out one day. That's why I don't really talk about it.
But have you ever looked at it from the outside as like every time you've been punched in the face, it's been pushing you towards where you should be?
Yeah, I do. I look at it from two ways. So that's great. Yeah, I look at it that way. Like, I'm happy it happened. It made me stronger. It made me grow, right? I had to think differently. I had to think bigger. But I also had to look within and go, why is this always happening to me? There's a common theme here. You can't be the blame game. The whole to me, by me, through me concept, right? I spent 30 years of my life, right, to me. Everything's happening to me. And then I spent a couple of years of my life, everything has to happen by me. So if it's going to get done, it's going to get done. Now I'm at a point in my life where I realize it has to be through me. I got to empower other people. Circumstances didn't happen to me. They didn't happen by me. They happen through me. And I have to look at that, and I have to look within and change the way I operate, change the way I think, I say it in other words. I say, I don't play nice. I don't play nice. And I have to realize no matter if I'm corporate or in this entrepreneur world, solopreneur, entrepreneur, whatever it is you gotta be able to play nice. You gotta be nice. You gotta play nice with people.
Well, look, I feel like, from what I've heard from you, that you played nice back then too, but you were kind of an employee, right?
Yeah.
You were kind of someone's bitch.
Well, yeah. I was misled,
over.
Right? I was misled. We had a business partnership, right? Someone comes to you and says, hey, let's build a business. You're going to be 30%. I'll be 70%, but you do your job. I do my job. And I said, done, let's go do it. And I go do my job. And I take it from $0. I hire the entire executive staff. I bring on everything. I do everything. And now we start making money. And now I get a haircut and get a haircut and get a haircut. Keep getting a haircut. But now I don't even care about the money. I'm so passionate. I built a baby, man. I built my own thing. Like, I'm building something. And I didn't do it all alone. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, you know what I mean? The idea is the most important. The idea wasn't me. Right? I was the integrator. I was the executor. I just did all that. So, yeah, when it was ripped underneath me, it was a hard. You want to talk about trauma, man? That was traumatic. And then everything that came after, the residual effect. That's still to this day. To the day, I still have that residual effect because the story, the truth isn't out yet, but it'll come out, and I can't wait for that because all those people that doubted me, all those people that had bad eyes, evil eyes towards me, they're going to look like idiots. And they're going to say, shit, I wish I would have done business with him. And that's what I look forward to. And I'm confident with that. I'm so damn confident with that.
When you're telling me this, it brings me back to when I first met you. So it was about a year ago. How long before a year ago did this happen?
Yeah, that was just happened, right? It was like 2-3 months.
You were a fucking mess when I met you a year ago.
Yeah, I was a mess.
Yeah.
Remember? That's the third time. Remember?
Yeah.
That's the third time. And that was different because I'll tell you this. I heard this and it's like I projected this. I swear to God, I projected this. I heard this when I was younger. They say it's better not to have it than to have it and lose it all. It's way harder. And I had it and I lost it all. And it was hard. It was like 6-figure months to $0 months and trying to maintain a 6-figure month lifestyle.
I remember meeting you at this mastermind, and you're loud, right? Like you're a presence. You literally trademarked your fucking name, dude. You're a unique individual. And I met you, and I'm like, number one, immediately I could tell like you have a presence and you can fucking speak. I was like, man, this dude can talk. And then like immediately I saw the fragile side of you, and I think the very first time I met you was at a mastermind where a mutual friend of ours now, Elliot, was there, and he was kind of talking about a lot of mindset stuff and a lot of limiting beliefs, and he just singled me and you out of the room, right? And just kind of, we were both like fragile little beings a year ago of like, and hearing this story really...
You saw the transformation. You saw the bottom, and you saw me build myself back up again. But we're still not there. I don't lie to people. We're still not there. We're getting there.
But it sets this whole framework of who you were a year ago, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I do want to talk through where you've been this last year, because you're a different fucking guy a year later. You are not the guy I met a year ago in California. You're not. You're way different. And I'd love to talk through some of the things that you've done to shift that, right? Like,
So, man, that was, so if I look back on the year, the biggest one was internal. It was internal work. I had to do a lot of it. Like, I had to again, what got me to where I was is not going to get me to where I wanted to go. And again, where I want to go tomorrow is not going to get, like, the things I'm doing today are not going to get to me where I want to go tomorrow. So every day I wake up and I realize that. I'm like, if I want what I want, I got to change what I do. And I became really more cognitive of who I was. I accepted things in my life. I accepted that I wasn't, perfection isn't something we should be working towards. Excellence is what we should work towards, right? I went through another internal struggle. I went through another internal transformation. And this time I realized, like, this is it. Like, I realized, like, I'm not waiting or relying on anybody anymore. It's all me. I'm going to build it. I'm going to build a team to support me, but I'm not going to ask for people to help me. I'm not going to ask for people to do it for me, because I'm going to, and I am building it. And when I build it this time, nobody's going to take it away from me, because it's mine.
How much of the burnt partnership, how much did that affect your, like, our friend Bree always talks about the 4 conditions of worthiness, right? Like, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy of this. I'm not smart enough. And then there's always that rescue me. I have the same thing. I always want to partner with somebody. I always want somebody to come do it with me, right? So how much did that burnt partnership, how long did that set you back, and like what
months,
what hurdles
years.
did you have to get over?
I mean, it's for the whole year it set me back. It set me back heavily for the first 4 or 5 months, because it was just I was paralyzed. I was numb. That was a traumatic experience, right? But again, through time, it just through constant work every day, just a little work here. Elliot, like you said, had a huge part of it, right? We did a lot of work together, but it was just a constant chipping away. And the next thing you know, you kind of find yourself again. And if there's anything I realized through that process, like, shit, I am good. First time in my life I can say, I am good. Damn, look at what I've done. Look at what's happened to me. Look what I've done. That's not by accident. That's not fluke anymore, right? That's hard work, tenacity, that's skills. So I just tap into that. Like, again, the stories. You can tell your story, and you can tell yourself, I'm not good enough, I'm a failure. Or you can rewrite your story. You can tell yourself a new story. You can change the way you think, to change the way you look at yourself in the mirror. And it's not easy, man. I'll never sit here and tell people it's easy. It's freaking hard. Every day it's hard. Every day, you just said it. Every day, this is what I think success is. This is what I've realized this year. Success is simply this. Every day, you, me, everyone wakes up with the 2 same feelings. We either feel like we're not good enough or we're not worthy enough. The distance between how fast I catch that and change that thought is the distance of how successful I am. I guarantee you The Rock wakes up every single day, and not the first thought, but in his mind throughout the day, there's a little piece that's like, I don't think I'm good enough. I don't think I'm good enough for this movie. I don't think I'm worthy enough for this movie. But he treats that and takes that with so much different power, the way he operates around that thought process, the way he catches it, and allows him to move forward. Most people, they sit in it. They sit in the I don't think I'm good enough. They sit, I don't think I'm the worthy enough. And they sit in it for days, weeks, and months, and nothing ever gets done.
I think that's the one thing I've realized as I continue to meet more and more entrepreneurs and myself level up. The thoughts never go away. I was telling you, I've had these microphones in my bag up here and I'm fighting myself.
You
to,
were
to
fighting
record
yourself.
something.
You were. You said today you asked someone to do it and they were fighting you a little bit and you never did it. You came in here and you're like, you want to do a podcast? I said, fuck, let's do a podcast. And I had to ask 3 times, let's get it up. Let's get it set up. And look at us. We're probably almost an hour in now, if not more. Talk more and how great is this?
But we fight those limiting beliefs all the time.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Elliot, right? Obviously you did some work with him. Yeah. I've done some work with him. Hypnotherapy is a whole different conversation.
Like, yeah,
I'm going to have Elliot on this podcast. I really want to get into it, but really you attacked those limiting beliefs. So what kind of tools can you give anybody that's listening when their belief system boils up? And if anybody who's listening doesn't know what your belief system is, simply think about that thing you should be doing right now. Yeah. All right. You got it in your head. Now I'm looking you dead in the eye and I'm saying, hey, we're going to go do this today, right now. And immediately that should give you a little bit of a pain in your chest. And immediately all those thoughts fire off in your head of, we can't do that because of this or this or this. Or that. That's your belief system, right? Yeah. And so what gives you every day when you wake up and that shows up, what gives you the ability to step around it?
Well, that you just said it in there is, unfortunately, you got to do the work and figure out where it shows up in your life. You got to be cognitive of it, because if you're in denial of it, or if you don't see it, how can you ever catch it? So for me, I did the work and I feel it in my body. So when I feel that pain in my body, or I feel that energy coming up in my body, I now know, wait a minute, why is this coming up? And I actually stop and have that internal conversation. Why is this coming? Why am I starting to feel fear? Oh, because this is making me feel not good enough. Well, making me feel not good enough is just stuff that happened from my past. But my past doesn't reflect my future. So, Kayvon, you have 2 options. You can either sit here and let this affect you, and let this affect your day and be a little baby about it, or you can change it right now and fight those demons. That's what I do on a constant, every day. I'm a fucking yo-yo, man. Like I used to be a yo-yo. Like one day you meet me, I was going to be the king of the world. The next day I was like, I'm the bottom of the world, right? And I had to learn how to control those emotions, control those thoughts. And I every day I have to ask those questions. Like, are you in your higher self? Is this real? Is this fear real? And then one of the things I do, which people I don't talk a lot about, is I also give myself permission to be in those thoughts. So if feeling fear or feeling I'm not good enough is making me feel good in that moment, I ask myself the question, Kayvon, are you okay with it? Are you okay with the fact that the next 2-3 hours you're not going to be productive? The next 2-3 hours you're not going to be in harmony. The next 2-3 hours you're not going to give yourself an opportunity to grow. Are you okay with the fact? Is being in fear more comfortable for you right now than getting out of it, facing fear, and being in that kind of harmony? Sometimes I ask the question, I go, yeah, I'm okay with it. And I'll give myself the permission to be in it. Then there's other times where I'm like, no, I'm not okay with it. Because I know in 2-3 hours I'm going to be pissed off at myself that I let myself get there. And then I just switch and I go do it.
I like that you ask yourself that.
I'm always asking myself that question.
Steve August, the friend we both know, he always tells me, dance with it.
Dance with it.
It's going to be there every fucking day.
Yes.
Every day it's going to show up.
Don't fight it. That's what I used to do. I used to fight. I used to run with it. I used to run away with it. Right? Because if we don't, it's the hardest thing. We're talking about some real stuff here, right? Most people don't even know what we're talking about at this point, right? They're like, what are these guys? These guys. But if you run away from that emotion, if you run away from that fear all your life, you're just never going to be able to handle it. You're never going to be able to identify it. Now, I don't run away from it. I don't just run to it. What you said, I dance with it. I play with it. I kind of see where it's at. And I know, and I've realized it's always going to be here. So again, this perfection of it being gone forever is a lie. The world of excellence, knowing it's going to be here, it's how I deal with it every single day, that's going to get me forward, gives me the freedom, and it allows me to deal with it in a different light. It allows me not to be so hard on myself. It allows me to not be so restrictive in the way I think and hold me back. Because we know when we're in fear, we're in restrictiveness, it holds us back from possibility, it holds us back from creativity, holds us back from being able to be in alignment and in harmony, which gets us where we want to go.
It's crazy to me how it just keeps showing up at new levels, though, right? Like I remember when I first started, and I started my first store, it took me months just to get it running, and then when I finally did, I might have made $1,000 a month, which was so amazing back then. And I'm like, oh, I'll never be able to make 2. And then I made 2, and I'm like, oh, 2 is cool. That was easy, and I broke that belief, and immediately it just keeps going up, right? The next one's there, the next level's there, and Joe Rogan calls it conquering your inner bitch. It shows up every day, no matter what. It's always there, and it's just a new level of you can't. You know what I mean? And then you either sit there and you get fearful and you get sad about that you can't, or you break through that new level, and then all of a sudden you have a new I can't.
that's it's, as I said, it shows up for everybody at different levels. And the more you just said, then the way you can handle it is the difference between you're going to get there or not. And anyone that thinks it's going to go away is delusional. It's never going to go away. In fact, it probably shows up even more when you get to higher levels because there's more at risk. There's more things to lose. There's more reasons to be wrong. There's more people that are looking at you.
I can hear people saying, at least from my old world where I came from, probably family too, sorry family, saying, well, then what's the point? Why not just live this mediocre fucking life?
Then live it if you're happy with it.
Yeah.
To me,
I want people to be happy, but
average is hell on earth to me. Average is hell on earth.
I've just known my whole life that I was meant for something more. I don't know what it is, but I always knew I was meant for something more. And so I love this talk. I could talk about the shit that boils up for me all day long because it affects every single person listening to this, whether they want to admit it or not. But I want to move into sales, right? You obviously, you built an entire worldwide global program for your mentor, your business partner, who eventually just scaled you down and down and down until he just wrecked you, right? And there's a whole lot more to that story, but you had to hit rock bottom, and now you have to turn around and say, I'm going to build this for myself, right? So talk to me about how you have built what you have going on now, and tell me a little bit. I want to hear about how do you close, man?
Yeah. So, I had it again, you learn. So I learned, when we built this awesome business and stuff, there was also a lot of things that didn't work. So I wanted to build something different. I didn't want to go out and build the same thing over. Right? Because it's just putting lipstick on a pig, right? So I wanted to rebuild it, but I wanted to come from a different place. So the first business we built was self-serving. It was about how big can we get? It was, how much more people can we have it was just so self-serving. I wanted to build something. I don't talk a lot about this to a lot of people because it's the audacious goal. But if you think about people, if you think about the Sandler training or the Brian Tracy training, the Zig Ziglar training, I want people worldwide to know the Kayvon training. So in order to do that, I knew that I had to not just build some online course. I had to build a ship. I had to build a system. So I had to build a place where, okay, if closers came to me, if salespeople came to me, if people wanted to come to me, they wanted to learn, they wanted to grow, they wanted to train, they wanted to get better at sales. Well, then what do I do with them after? I can't just say, hey, put you out in the world. I have to give them something. So I wanted to build a system where if you came to me, you train with me, and you're lucky enough to get on my team, you're going to get a 6-figure income out of the gate. So in order to do that, I needed fulfillment. I needed to be able to give them opportunity. So instead of working on the course, I started building the other chapter, the other leg, which is the fulfillment side. So I ended up actually going into different companies and doing consulting and ended up being their sales director. So now I have these clients that have me in there as their sales director. We come in, we run the entire sales department. And then what I do is I bring my salespeople, right? So my trained closers over to close those deals with them. So it's now a system because now I have an ecosystem where I'm taking people who never had dreams or who didn't know how to make money or people who just wanted to make an extra 5-10 grand a month. And I'm actually giving them not just a skill, but an opportunity to do that. On the other end, I'm helping other business owners make more sales, which make more impact. And I realize that's the true ripple effect. That's the ripple effect there is my closers that I train are now closing for other people who's helping their lives change. Those people get their lives to change in their, in their families. I've never met them. I've never seen them, but that was all because of me. That's the true ripple effect.
Nice. So you obviously you go into companies, and so I know some of your clients, you go in there and you help them close the deals, but help the listener understand exactly what you do. Yeah. What are you teaching you have a course on this stuff, right? Yeah. You want to help people.
So it's called the 7-Figure Closer Program, and it's a 6 module program where you come in, and whether you've been a closer or salesperson or you've never been, it's set up so you can pick where you're at. And you go through it, and when you come out of it, if you've never been in sales or you've never done sales, you come out of it and you have the skills and you have the knowledge and you have the ability to go out and get an opportunity for yourself and or get on my team and start making some extra side income. If you're in sales and you want to learn those nuggets, you want to learn how to go from being, 8 out of 10 to 10 out of 10, it's also set up for that. So the way it works is my clients, they do the marketing. They have services. We sell services, not products, right? So $5, $10, $15, $20, $25,000 services. And they send their traffic to my team. My team books the call, and we get on the call and we have the conversation with their clients. And we talk to their clients and we learn about their clients' pain and learn what they're looking for, learn where they want to go. The same thing we just talked about, the struggle. And then we bridge the gap, meaning we talk about, well, if you were to work with us and we were to show you the step-by-step process, what does it look like then?
But I think salesmen have a bad name, right? Like
salesmen have
when
a
you start
bad
talking
name.
about being a salesman, people start thinking sleazy. So I
Yeah.
want to hear the difference, right?
Yeah,
So let's say I sold some stuff. Like I'm pretty good at Google AdWords.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at SEO for e-commerce. Let's say I wanted to create a course on this. Wink, wink. Maybe that's coming. And I wanted to send traffic to you. I want to help people win more. I want to help them grow their businesses, right? And I drive a bunch of traffic to my website where I get them to sign up and give their phone number. And then I send them off to Kayvon, who's going to do the closing for me.
Yeah.
And so some people would be like, oh, he's going to try to sell them.
Yeah.
They might not need it.
They might not need it. Yeah. So that great. So my number one philosophy, if you know me, if you even look me up, is you'll see that my number one philosophy is never act, do, be, or sound like a traditional salesperson. So in my training, I teach people we're not salespeople, we're doctors. And we hold frames like doctors, and we act like doctors. We don't act like salespeople. It's not about the latest deal. It's not about pushing peach. If I have to push my features and my benefits on you, I'm selling you. I'm not doing my job. I'm not doing the job of Kayvon. Okay, I'm asking you questions. I'm trying to figure out what your problem is, what your pain is. Just like you go to a doctor, the doctor asks you questions. They come in, they pre-frame. Do they smile? Do they act like your best friend? No. They tell you about the latest deal? No. They come in, they ask questions, they diagnose. So this is what I teach. I teach people how to be able to frame the call properly. You said pre-frame it. I teach them how not to be excited. It's not supposed to be exciting. And in fact, the process, the sales conversation should be unpleasant if it's done properly.
Dive into that. Tell me what you mean by that.
Yeah, I knew you were going to ask that. Meaning, if I'm doing my job properly, I've opened up some wounds or I've opened up some pain. So you're coming to me because you want to learn how to have a better business. Most people are going to sell, well, my product's this, and this is what it's going to do for your business. And it's going to give you this, and we're going to make you more money. Well, okay. Traditional sales, how's that working out for you? My job isn't to do that. My job is to actually figure out why your business isn't working. Why do you think it's not working? What have you tried in the past? What haven't you tried in the past? What does success look like for you? What do you think's stopping you? Why us? I tell people, I don't tell you why I'm great. I get you to tell me why I'm great. Why do you want to work with me? There's a lot of people out there. Oh, I've worked with Tony Robbins in the past. You worked with Tony Robbins? Wow. He's the best in the business. Why us then? Why would you even want to come to us? You see, I keep control of the conversation.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like about that you teach is keeping control, right? And so it's very easy for the person calling to get defensive.
Oh yeah.
And so how do you control somebody who's already coming in with the mindset of this isn't going to work, and the moment you drop a price tag, right? They don't know the price usually. And so when you tell them 5, 6, 10, 15 grand, they're going to be like, whoa.
Yeah. So the person who's asking the question controls the game. If you're the one answering the questions, so prospect comes on, tell me about the product. Salesperson answers. How long have you been doing the product for? How long have you been in the business? Done. Conversation's done. You've lost control. The person who can control the conversation by asking the right questions at the right time with finesse controls the conversation. Being a high-ticket closer is literally, it's like being a doctor and being a psychologist all in one and being able to connect to the product. Because I have to get you to realize my job is not to sell you. My job is to ask the right questions so you're selling me on why I should let you into my program. Why should I let you even purchase the program? If I had to sell you the program, if I had to pitch you it, I'm doing traditional sales, right? Doesn't work. Number one. Number two, you're going to refund or you're going to not do the work. I got to get you to claim it. So I tell people, I don't sell people. I connect with people. Closer is a sexy word, but it's not. We're not closing you. We're providing you information. We're providing you a roadmap for success, and we're giving you a door. You just have to figure out if you want to walk through that door or not.
Well, if you take it back to all the stuff we were talking about earlier, how everyone has these limiting beliefs that you're breaking through, you're
breaking through those. I'm breaking through those limiting beliefs.
Yeah,
yes.
you're helping them walk through all this stuff and realize that the service that you're providing
is needed. Yeah, or they wouldn't be on the call. Listen, if there's no pain, there's no sale. Okay? The bigger the pain, the bigger the opportunity. So if someone comes to me and like, again, I always tell people, I don't do traditional sales. So I don't call out to people. I don't chase people down. I let the marketing do that. I only speak to people who are 80% sold. Or why am I speaking to them? We live in a world of marketing. We live in a world with something called Google and Facebook ads and funnels. Why would I have to do that when I can let the marketing do that for me? Webinars. Let them do that. When they come to me, they already know the product. They already know what they're going to get. What they don't know is the price. What they don't know is it the right thing for them or not. It's my job to figure out if it's the right thing for them. If I have to sell them again, if I have to justify my value, sell them the features, sell them the benefits, I'm doing a traditional sales job. It's not what I teach. I actually would get out the phone.
So I would assume you have like a 5-step framework or something of that sort, right? You call yourself the one-call closer. Yeah. I love it. I love that you're bold enough to say that. So what is the framework of the one-call close?
Yeah, so the framework is basically like this, is in the call, if it's done properly, is we set up the call, it's the philosophy again, you got to act like a doctor, so you got to control the frame. You're not excited, you're not rude, you're literally diagnosing the problem. So when I get on the call, I pre-frame the call. Hey, it's, usually they call me. Here's one of them. If I call you, what am I? Salesperson. But when I get you to call me, what do I become? The expert. So I get people to call me. They book on my calendar, they call me. I pick up the phone. Kayvon speaking. Oh, Kayvon, blah, blah, blah. Who's in control right now? Me or them?
You are. Because
I'm in control. Right out of the gate. They're excited. I'm under control. Okay, well, you know what, Ben? Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to figure out a little bit about you. I'm going to ask you some questions. Find out a little bit more about your business, where you want to go, what the driving force behind all that is. And then what I'll do is I'll take you a little deeper in what we got going on here, and we'll see if it's the right fit. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Okay, great. So this is what I call pre-frame the call. That's what I do, step 1. So now step 2 is I got to identify your needs, the desires. So tell me, Ben, what was the motivation to hop on the call with us? And you tell me.
Right.
And I go deep in all the different questions. What's working, what's not working, how long have you done this, what's holding you back? Everything, every question you can think of.
Just copywriting 101, right? Like identify the pain and then find every different angle you can look at this pain to drive it home.
Exactly. Right. And keep going. Now there's 3 levels of pain. Most people don't understand that, right? Level 1 is surface pain. Level 2 is financial pain. Level 3 is personal pain. Most people don't even get the financial pain. They stay on the surface pain because they're so scared of themselves. Meaning, oh, my business isn't working. My Facebook ads aren't working. Okay, let's talk about that. No. Okay, well, as a result of your Facebook ads, your Amazon being an asshole to you, how's that affecting your business? Well, I'm having a hard time making the bills. Oh, shit, you're not going to make payroll. How long has that been going on? How long can that go on before something breaks? Right? That's level 2. What about level 3? You want to make some serious. Okay, well, as a result of the Facebook ads not working, and you can't pay the bills, and you're not, salespeople are not getting leads, and things are just not working. I mean, how's that affecting you at home? I mean, how do you look at yourself in the mirror? Did you ever think at your age that you'd have a business that was doing so good but failing in so many ways? That's personal pain. Right. You get to that, it's over. It's over. Because now what do? So that's step 2. Well, step 3 is I got to lead. What we call is leading them. So, Ben, the reason your business is doing this, the reason you're having an issue with this is because you're operating like this. And the one thing we know is everything we get in our lives is a direct reflection of what's going on the inside. So the first thing we're going to have to do and we're going to have to discover is figure out what's happening with you as the entrepreneur, as the operator, because it all starts with you. So we got to first figure out that, because when we give you the systems and the tools, then you're going to be able to actually use them properly. Because if I just give them to you now, you're just going to continue operating the same place with a different bow. And it's not going to actually serve you. Would you agree?
I agree.
Yeah. Okay. So suppose. So you see how I just led you? Did you see how I indirectly led you to where I want you to go? You just admitted to me that you know you need a change. You just admitted to me that you know that in order for your business to grow, it's going to start with you. So I got your commitment already, right? I've already got your buy-in. So now suppose, step 4, suppose we were, hypothetically, I can't make promises, but hypothetically we were to work together. What does success look like? I mean, if we drew a line from today to 8 months from now, what does success look like for you? It's called...
Do you find they work their way back through those 3 levels of pain, or do they immediately go like financial?
No, they'll tell me what success is, right? So most people will be like, oh, I'd be making money. Most salespeople are like, great, let's make money in commissions and let's get this deal done. No, what does money mean to you?
So you work your way back through? Do you say, I bet you and your wife are getting along better. I bet you can look yourself in the mirror.
I don't.
They
do.
I bet you fill up your payroll.
I don't. Thank you. Philosophy. If I say something, it means something. Sorry, yeah. When they say something, it means everything. Meaning, if I say, oh, you're going to have a better relationship with your wife, you're going to be able to pay payroll, your business is going to be, it means something. When they tell me they're going to have a better relationship with their wife, it means everything. Does it make sense?
So do you direct the call then? If they immediately say, I'm going to make more money, do you take them back to those levels of pain?
No, they're going to make more money.
What would that do in your home life?
No. They go, that's going to make more money. What does that mean to you? How much are you talking about? Let's get specific. I'm going to go on vacation. What vacation? Where? Who? What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get them to their promised land. I'm trying to get them to realize that they are capable. They're worthy. They can do it if they have the right systems, the right tools. But if they don't even know where they want to go, how are they going to invest into it? See, most people, they think they know where they want to go, but they actually have no idea where they want to go. They don't actually know what success looks like to them. They don't know that actually they don't really want to go on 5 vacations a year. They just want to go on one amazing vacation. They want to be able to have this. They want to be able to do that. I got to figure out what those are. I can't tell them what they are. They got to tell me what those are. So I got to dig deep until we have a perfect picture. Now, imagine, you know exactly where you want to go in a year. You know what your business wants to do. You know how your relationships are going. You know what your health wants to be like. You know the impact you want to make. You know the significance you want to have. You now know all of this because I've asked you the questions. I never told you. You've now claimed what you want your future to look like. Well, now I got to get step 5. Got to get to the commitment. How committed are you to making all this happen? Because if you're not committed today, then I'm not going to tell you my price. Because there's no point. I need to get a commitment from you before I tell you my price. Because if I get that commitment from you in every which way, well, then when I tell you the price and you say you can't do it anymore, you're lying to me. Right? Because if you mention price too early or too late, you don't get the sale. So you got to mention at the right time. And right now is the right time because I've just got your commitment. So, okay, well, if you want XXX, right? You want the future we just talked about and you want to get out of your pain, you want to get your solution, it's only going to be $15,000. And here's what you're going to get. And then you go through your value. Step 6 and then step 7, sign the deal. But here's the thing what most people do. They ask for the sale. Never ask for the sale. Never ask for the sale. I always say, where should we go from here? What should happen next? They claim the sale. Because if I ask for the sale, then I'm selling them. They claim the sale. They tell me they want to move forward. And you want to know what? You're going to love this one. These are now tricks. When they say to me, Kayvon, can we move forward? I always act like I don't hear them. And I say, sorry, what was that? I make them say it twice because it's called a verbal handshake. When they say it twice, that second time they say it, they actually mean it. They feel it. It means something to them.
Well, this is why I love like just even having a conversation with you. Like when you're in your zone of genius, there's nobody that does it better. Like I've never met anybody that talks the way you talk. I've never met anybody, like I always bring up that deal you brokered that it doesn't even exist at this point. Yeah. But I bring it up constantly because you were just having fun. You kick your feet up and you fucking love this stuff, man.
Yeah.
Like I truly started this podcast to find people who are passionate about what they do because it makes you wake up every day and want to do it. Like you're smiling right now just thinking about this.
Yeah, well, because I'm in my genius. I love it. Again, remember we started the conversation, 3 decades of this. 20 years of this stuff. And what I love is that nobody does what I do. I finally remember I said I want to have my own sales training program. I really do. Nobody looks at sales the way I do. So I took all those, full circle. Everyone told me I wasn't good enough. They, all the punches in the face. And I took all that and I was creative with all that. And I've created my own system. I've created a new way of selling, a new way of connecting. I created a way to helping people achieve their dreams, helping them to accept and actually claim their dreams without having to be a traditional salesperson, the used downtown car salesperson.
What I love about you is what you said earlier, too, to bring it back. You're not only helping me, like let's say I'm selling something and you're closing for me. You're not only helping me impact more lives, you're helping the people who are becoming the closers make real money, right? So let's talk about just for a second, like this is not just a course. This is a biz opportunity, right?
Somebody could take
your course, learn how to do this, and go help someone like me, and make good money doing it, right?
So, like, just in the last 3 months, I brought one of my best friends. He moved to Paraguay with his wife, married a woman in Paraguay, Canadian, can't get a job, doesn't speak the language. Yeah, he finally called out to me. He said, "Hey, do you think I can help you?" I said, "I can definitely help you." 3 months later, he's making more money he's ever made in his entire life. You know how cool that is? I had one of my clients. We made her a millionaire in 6 months. Turned her into a millionaire.
I love that you're playing both sides. Like,
do you know how cool that is?
To me, that's amazing. That you're helping both the entrepreneur who's impacting a ton of lives, but you're also helping a lot of people get off their couch and do something amazing.
Because I believe, so I don't believe everybody deserves a chance. It's just not my philosophy. I believe in every classroom, there's one person like a Kayvon. And they're being,
no question.
And they're not being loved, they're not being told, they're not being shown an opportunity, and I just want to reach that one person, that one Kayvon in every classroom. If I can touch them and change their lives, I'm happy with that. I can't change everybody's life. I'm not here to help be like a Tony Robbins. I said let Tony Robbins do what Tony Robbins does. That's not what I do. I want to be in the business of helping winners win more. I want to help 80 percenters to go to 100%, the 8s to 10s, not the 2s to 8s. I'm okay with that.
To put it in perspective, if you're that Kayvon listening to this right now, there's actual money to be made there, right? You're talking about
more money than doctors make.
Somewhere between 10 and 20% of the sale is going to the closer typically,
it's
right?
Going, exactly, you just said it, anywhere between 10 to 20%. Goes to the closer.
Do some simple math, right? If you're selling a $10,000 offer, that's $1,000 to $2,000 going to the closer.
Yeah, and get this, done in 30 minutes to 45 minutes.
Right.
You're making 30 minutes to 45 minutes, you're making $1,000 to $2,000 a call. You're not going to be, listen, I tell people, I'm realistic. If you're someone who wants to make $100,000 a month, unless you're closing really high-end products, it's going to be hard to do as a closer. You're going to have to scale. But if you're someone who's saying, man, I'm happy with 15, 20K a month, 30K a month. Like, I don't want any more. I don't need any more than that. And I want to be able to live a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. Work from home. Work from anywhere you want. You're not stuck to just your house. You can work anywhere in the world. Travel. And I'm cool with that. It's the best life. It is literally the best thing you can do. Well, you know how hard it is to open up an e-commerce store. How hard it is to drive traffic. It's not that hard to pick up pick up the plastic, flap the gums for 35 minutes, and make $2,000.
Well, the beauty is there's more room to grow, right? Like you get good at it, and you can hire a team, you can deploy your team.
There's so much room to grow. Right. Yeah.
No, I love what you do, man. I love you personally. I really appreciate you doing this podcast. So
I love you, man.
If I can
love
send any traffic your way, I'll put a link in the show notes. I'll put a link on my website. Anything I can do to send more people your way. So you can change more lives.
If someone's sitting on that couch, or someone, listen, if you were looking to become a closer, or you're already a coach, a consultant, and you're like, I want to get better, definitely put the link in there. If you want, come to Kayvon.com. Come find me. We'll get you suited.
Hire this man.
Yeah, hire this man.
All right, love you, kid.
Yeah, awesome.
Wow, what a story from Kayvon Kay. If you want to learn more about what he's doing, you want to be a closer, you think you could use his services, head over to Kayvon.com and generally just follow this guy. He's amazing. So thanks for listening to the very first episode. If you like what you heard, you know the drill. Please go subscribe. Please review on iTunes. And a new episode will be dropping next Wednesday. See you then.